Hi everyone, my name is Roya, and today I am coming to you with the books I read in the latter half of February. This is iPod. I don't know if she read any books or not because she hasn't told me. So the first book that I read in the latter half of February, I read like right away as soon as it was the second half of February, and that is Fireheart Tiger by Elliot de Bodard. This is a fantasy novella about a princess who had at one point lived in a different kingdom for a little bit as either a hostage or like something, I don't remember. But anyway, so she was there for a little while. She was part of a terrible thing that happened with a library burning down or something while she was in it. So she's kind of like a little bit traumatized by that still. But several years have passed, and she once again ends up in a relationship with the princess, the other princess of the kingdom that she was in. They cross paths again and they get back together, and it's basically a story of a pretty unhealthy relationship where, you know, everyone can kind of see but her how unhealthy the relationship actually is. And then, I mean, of course, by the end, she ends up with a different girl who is much better for her. Anyway, it's a really good, well-rounded story for being so short. I actually kind of wished that it was longer, but it's really good. So anyway, the next book that I read was The Electric Kingdom by David Arnold. This is about an apocalyptic world in which a fly flu has kind of killed a lot of people. So there's an apocalypse, most people are dead, there's no society anymore. So this teenage girl comes across a couple of other kids close to her age, and they kind of work together to survive all of that stuff. And then things get really weird. So basically, the first good chunk of the story, like maybe half, is basically just introducing the characters and the situation, and then basically having the characters all talk about stuff that doesn't exist in this world anymore. Like they're making references to like Dunkin' Donuts and, oh, who's Dunkin', and we don't know that, blah blah blah, because we've grown up entirely in an apocalypse, blah blah blah, that type of thing. So a lot of it is very like, because they were all basically born since the apocalypse or like right before it started, so they don't know what like anything is. That's basically the whole first half of the book, is kind of just that plus kind of setting stuff up. And I kind of thought that part was, it could have been a lot shorter. We didn't really need all the references to stuff they don't know what it is and blah blah blah. Like, it's really not as amusing as the author probably thought it was. I don't know, or at least I don't think it is. I have no idea. So then things get a little bit more exciting. There are some really crazy conflicts that happen, and then things get really weird. The stuff that's going on, like, really the story involves all kinds of like time portals and just weird stuff. It's totally not just your run-of-the-mill apocalyptic story by any means. And so I loved that it got really weird that way, and I kind of wish that more of the story had to do with that, since the first half was so just okay. um and but by the end, I definitely really liked the whole idea of it. I just felt like the execution could have been a lot better, and kind of the story of it could have focused a little bit more on that while still not letting us know what was going on until close to the end. Like, I just think that it could have been it had a lot of potential, but ultimately, this book definitely could have been a lot better had it gone in a little bit of a different direction, and had more of the weird part in it. I don't know. I liked it. I liked the concept. I just felt like some of this book was a little bit hard to get through because it was mostly just a whole bunch of, like I said, kind of referring to stuff that doesn't exist anymore, etc., etc. So I don't know. I did like it though. It did end up being a really enjoyable book. Don't get me wrong. I didn't dislike it by any means. I just thought that like certain elements of the story were better than others, and unfortunately the book didn't focus on the good elements of the stories that I enjoyed as much as it could have. By the way, that was an arc sent to me by Penguin Teen, and I did read one more arc that was sent to me by Penguin Teen this month. I read The Valley and the Flood. Buddy read this with my friend Vanessa from the channel Paper Fairy. She also had the arc, so we buddy read it together. It was really fun. So this book is really weird in this pretty great way as well. It follows a girl who shows up in this small town, and everyone in the town basically knows that she brought a, like, flood with her. Like, something weird followed her there, essentially. And she's dealing with a tragedy that happened a year ago still, that we don't know what happened until 3/4 of the way through the book. That makes up a really good chunk of the book, is like this elusiveness to what happened there. So then when I felt like, while I liked this book overall, I felt like part of what could have been done a lot better is I thought that the thing that happened that is referred to throughout the entire book was very meh compared to the build up to it. So when we actually find out what happens, it's very just a simple thing, which kind of does make a good point about how that doesn't really matter because her perspective of it, it's still the worst day of her life type of thing. But I really felt like there are so many things about it that if it had been even just slightly different, it would have been a better reveal, because ultimately there's a lot of buildup and very little reward there. And then also I felt like the book, the story as a whole, it started off being really weird in almost a like Welcome to Night Vale type of way, which was really great, but then I think it didn't go far enough in that direction to justify not explaining stuff, or to justify the weird way people talked about stuff, that type of thing. So I think that it could have either done a better job of explaining some of the stuff that was going on, or it could have gone in more of a weird direction where maybe it wouldn't need to. So anyway, this month I also read The Dreamgatherer by Kristen Britton. This is book 6.5 in the Green Rider series. This is basically just a kind of side novella that follows a couple of the major characters, and it's really good. It basically follows one of my favorite characters in the story, and her basically communicating with her boyfriend, who she hasn't seen in like an entire book, through his dreams, basically. So she's awake, but he's asleep, and he thinks he's dreaming while he's with her and stuff. It's really interesting, and yeah, I really enjoyed this book. But yeah, and I definitely do think that it is something that you have to have read the 6th book to read this one. It's not one that you can really just pick up at any point, or anything like that. Obviously, the 7th book hasn't come out yet. It's coming out in September, so I can't really speak to whether you have to read this before the 7th book or not. But anyway, ultimately, if you're a fan of the Green Rider series, which you totally should be if you're not, you should definitely check this out. Then I read Kingston and the Magicians Lost and Found by Rucker Moses and Theo Ganji. So Rucker Moses is actually a pen name for 2 different authors as well. So really it's by like 3 people. So anyway, this follows a boy named Kingston who grew up in Brooklyn, or he didn't grow up in Brooklyn. He spent his like early childhood-ish in Brooklyn, where a lot of people are magical, and his dad is a magician and disappeared during a magic trick. So then he ends up spending kind of the rest of his childhood in like a different town entirely, because his mom got like really tired of magic after that happened and wanted to just like get out of there. So at 12, he's coming back to Brooklyn, back to magical happenings and stuff, after spending basically his childhood and his growing up like being told that, oh, you're delusional, your dad just left, when he knows that's not true. So in Brooklyn, he and his friends try to find out what happened to his dad and get him back. So ultimately, this was a really fun book. I read it in mostly one evening. I do feel like the magic system is very arbitrary and not clearly defined, and part of that is because we don't actually see enough of it. So when something happens, it feels very arbitrary because we're not given the rules of the magic system at all, but I'm not really docking it points for that because this is a middle grade book and middle grade readers don't always like care about that, so whatever. But one thing that I thought was really fascinating about it as well is that it references some prominent Black magicians throughout history who are actually people who really existed. And so every time it referred to somebody, I actually like got out my phone and looked it up, and I was like, oh, whoa, that was a real dude. That's awesome. That really happened. And it's stuff that like I didn't know about. And if there's one thing that we've learned in the past year, it's that like there's a lot of history that like it seems like only Black Americans, like every Black American knows about it, and then like nobody else does. And we should all be paying a lot more attention to that. So it turns out that like the first famous American magician was a Black man. I definitely did really enjoy this book, and I think it's really good. And finally, I read Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. This is about a girl whose mother was a star and she went back to the sky. So she ends up kind of coming into her like starry powers like really suddenly, and ends up accidentally putting her dad in a coma. So she has to go to the world of the stars, where it turns out that she has to compete in this like music and art competition. And you normally just like mortals are chosen by the stars to compete in this, but since she is half star, her own family and her mom and everything like pick her to do it and summon her there because she is half star, so they think that they can get away with her entering the competition, and they think that she has a better shot of winning because she's also a star, and it's not really cheating because like she isn't a full star yet. And then basically her grandparents won't give her what she needs to go and save her dad and get him out of a coma unless she wins the competition. So it's really weird. It's really good. I definitely just really enjoyed this book overall, and also all of the characters in it, stars and human alike, are all Daisy Indians. Those are the books that I read in the second half of February. Please let me know what your thoughts are on any of these books if you have read them, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!